Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Iron Culture presented by Mass. This is one of our many athlete interview episodes. For those who've been following along in the last few months since the end of 2025, I gave natural bodybuilding a lot of love, and we did a lot of interviews with some of the top upcoming new division champions in the WNBF after WNBF World that was in LA, which I had the pleasure of competing in. However, we got to give some love to the powerlifting scene now, because there has been some momentous things that have occurred. This year, we're going to actually have, and we've already had one of the two Sheffield championships as they shift their schedule, shift their venue, and as the sport continues to evolve and grow. And I have the former Sheffield champ on, and the second place Sheffield champ on, and the multiple types of world game and championship winner here on today in Kjell Bakkelund from Norway. And we're going to get into his history, his career, and what makes him so unique and what he has done, which is truly, I would say, a legendary performance in the 66 kilo class, which has not historically been his native class. And we're going to start that interview shortly after I appease the gods of capitalism. So first, I wanted to just let you know what happened before we started recording this episode, because if there is any illusion that my Instagram account has any representation of my bank account, this will disabuse you of that fact. So on my 2019 laptop, which I should obviously replace, but I have not, it honestly thinks that anytime I do a podcast, I'm actually trying to power a nuclear weapon. So the fan goes on so high that it actually creates this background noise. And I thought, you know what? I should grab one of the webcams from work. So yes, I'm actually stealing from AUT to fund my own personal business, but borrowing. And I thought that I did that and left it in the car. I did not. I checked the car. It was not there. I came back, restarted things, and that is actually why I kept Mr. Bakkelund up maybe a little later than intended, just a few minutes, starting late. And we're still actually going to have the same audio issues. We just have to edit it out in post. And sorry, Trex, because I know that's what you're going to be doing. So hopefully the fan does not start. But, we got to roll with the punches. So if you want to help keep this podcast alive, maybe help me upgrade from a 2019 laptop to a 2020 laptop, make sure to give us a like, a subscribe, share it with your friends. If you're listening on the feed, give us 5-star ratings. And also, hey, if you really want to be a star supporter of Iron Culture, presented by Mass. What is Mass, you may ask? Well, that's the Mass Research Review, where we translate recent publications in sports science, sport nutrition, fitness, and health into practical takeaways with me and my colleagues. So if you want to really help us out, we'd love to have you as a Mass subscriber. I'm sure you'll love it. And then finally, if you're just like, listen, bro, I just lift. I do not need to know about the science of lifting, but man, I can't hold my grip on those final deadlifts. Well, I say, hey, they're not comp legal, but Elite FTS makes some great gear, including great straps, and you can get a 10% off discount at everything at Elite FTS by using the code MRR10. That's for Mass Research Review 10. And now I've appeased the gods of capitalism. Kjell Bakkelund, welcome to Iron Culture.
Thank you, Eric. Thanks for having me on.
No, it is a true pleasure. And as you know, Iron Culture is all about history, science, and culture. The culture of the Iron Game, however, has many diverse, siloed I would say, tribes that in some cases don't even ever talk to each other. So when I say Sheffield to some people, they know exactly what I mean. They know this is the all-star game equivalent of the champions of champions competing against each other, that it's hosted by SBD, that has been going on since 2023, and they'll even get bonus credits if they want to appease my ego by saying, hey, didn't you coach at the inaugural Sheffield? And they say, oh, yes, I did. Thank you very much. It's all about me. But more often than not, if they're not American, they'll go, oh, yeah, isn't that a city somewhere in the UK? And I go, yes. However, what happens there is what's important. It's this meet. And if they're not a powerlifter and they're also American, then they literally have no idea what I'm talking about. Because, geography Americans, that's kind of like chalk and cheese, oil and water, Republicans and Democrats, which are exactly, So nonetheless, for those who don't know, you recently had a surprise performance at the 2026 initial, because there's going to be another one later in the year, Sheffield Performance. For those who listen to our collaboration episodes where we did our predictions for the Sheffield and our recap, which you could find under collaborations on YouTube, on King of the Lifts, hosted by none other than Six Pack Lapidat, the voice of powerlifting, if you will. We all were surprised by what Kjell did because he dropped down to the 66 kilo class last time at Sheffield and kicked that world record down the field well into the 700s, the high 700s, with speculation that he would hit 800. He totaled 770, which was a massive increase in the world record. Crushed it. We predicted, well, those of us who are correct predicted he would win. I'll say that for myself. But this time, we all had him somewhere in that bottom bracket, somewhere around 10th, 11th, or 12th. And that was because he had publicly lied and destroyed his credibility, saying, I'm going to do the 74s, and actively hid his decision to cut down to the 66s. But no, in all seriousness, I think it was a smart strategic move. Everyone was looking at Austin Perkins. Everyone was looking at Anthony McNaughton. Everyone was looking at Joe Borenstein. These top lifters who are all in contention for being some of the pound-for-pound greats. And then I turn on the live stream, and what is going on? They've got Kjell Bakkelund listed as a 66, not a 74. Is this an error? What's happening? Why did they enter it wrong? Oh no, he actually dropped down and had been dropping the whole time. And even more impressively, and then I'll let you tell it, you were struggling with that cut to 66 post-Sheffield. Your total actually started to decline from that 770 peak the year you won, and your weight was going up. You were kind of having the not ideal trajectory of these two numbers for the typical powerlifter. I'm going up a weight class from 66 to 74, and I'm having a lower total. And then I even come to find out that you're actually having to cut weight to make the 74s. But you were such a good athlete that you were still able to put up the victory at Euros, Worlds, and you had a fantastic year overall. But you had publicly stated that was crazy. I was on really low calories, really crazy high steps. It was impacting my family life. I'm out here doing weighted vest walks. I'm done with the 66s. I'm moving on. It's time for me to become the elder statesman in powerlifting. And then he just stealth weapons, sneaks in under the radar, and drops a bomb on us. So, Kjell, that's how it came to look from me from the outside. But if I wonder if you could give us, we'll start with just, how did this transition happen? How did you go from feeling crushed, overworked, and what many of us competitive bodybuilders feel when we diet for a show, to going, oh man, I need at least a couple of years off, to then coming back and putting up an even better performance at this year's first Sheffield? What enabled you to make that turnaround? What was the decision like? And then what was the actual process that allowed that to be successful this year?
Just the first thing I want to say is that people thought I was struggling with weight to the first Sheffield because I had to weigh in twice. But they fucked up the scale. So we had one scale at the hotel. I think earlier in the day I was like 65.7 or something. We get to the scale. I weigh 65.1 or something. I was 65.9 or 66.0 straight before we went to the venue. And I get there and I weigh like 900 grams under. And like,
wow,
okay, have I been laying in a bathtub and just having a hard time for nothing? Is this real? Is this calibrated? He said, yeah, of course it is. It's 100%. And other people like Jurins, Vaskar went in and spreading the word, like the scale is under for everyone. And people started drinking, and that was a good thing to do actually, because people have a hard time getting down. And Kedrick said, drink. But I'm like, but what if they do something?
Yeah.
And they did. I think they did 3 female lifters, and that they have to reweigh them. So now, yeah. And when I got on the scale again, I was 66.3 or 4.
Got it.
So then I just did to run around and get down the last grams. That was like a big shock that happened, and everyone was, oh, you couldn't make weight, you really had to. So I was really in weight, but they just fucked up.
Right.
Today. Yeah.
Got it.
But yeah. But I had a fantastic start of the year with the Sheffield win. And I was so motivated all around. Like, people were talking, it was a huge victory. And then you have Euros and thinking that gaining some weight, but not muscle mass, right? Just probably just fat and water. And getting to Euros and I wasn't really ready for it, but I just wanted to win like everything that year. Did the same total or 5 kilo more at that comp. Didn't give the best feeling, and I had to cut down. I was like 78 or 77 before the meet or something, so I really had to cut. That's kind of crazy when it's 5-6 weeks after.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the problem was after that because we just had a kid and the kid was sleeping in our room, we didn't really get that much sleep, so it was a lot of stress around that. And I was so low on calories. And I think the problem, and it's probably just me, but when I'm on really low on calories and I'm finished at work, going to the grocery store to buy food and everything, and it would be really good with a chocolate or something now, just to get into something fast, just to have just the cravings, right? And you eat that, and then you drive out of the parking lot, and it's like, no, I shouldn't eat this. You have eaten like maybe 40 grams of it. It's chocolate, but you do the same thing the day after, and you do those kinds of things all the time. And because if you're doing that, you do more steps because you want to reverse the thing you did.
Right.
So I went into a cycle that was pretty bad, and my wife was saying that if you do things like that, you're making a problem for all of us because we have to eat ground beef and rice, and you go and eat chocolate in the car. That's a big problem. And I wish that I could say, yeah, I will not do it, but it was so hard because I was so low on calories that I was out of my mind. Didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
But I still was hoping for just do a great meet. I had a lot of time to Worlds. And you talked about in the previous show, Kjell going to do 800 is going to be a good meet. But you saw pretty early that I didn't have the same focus, energy. You saw right through me. And right after the meet, you had, and we talked after the meet, that you thought that I'm really, it's looking like I'm not a 66 lifter. I can be a 66 lifter, but I have to do it in a different way. And I also remember, I think this was 2-3 weeks before the meet, we had a nutrition course with the national team. And the nutritionist who was there was talking about, if you're on low calories for too long, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. And I was like, yeah, I have that, everything. I felt everything. And that was, I think I really just needed to see it, to just find out that thing that I'm doing, I was just hurting me.
Yeah.
For that Worlds, I could take an easy title, but still, it's not worth it to feel that miserable. And when you said it after the after the meet, just you had a monologue there for 4 or 5 minutes, and he just ripped my life apart. We can't do this, and I really believe that. I really felt it. It's probably right. And I was fine with that decision. And 4 or 5 weeks later, you probably heard about it, that I watched the F1 movie that really changed everything. I don't know why, but something happened just by watching an older man at the end of his career trying to find new challenges. And if you look at it now, 74 was never the way to go. You saw that even if I was 77 at World Games or 73 at Nationals, my total didn't increase. And it will probably increase in 2-3 years. But I don't have 2-3 years. I'm in this now. So then I started right after the movie. I drove to the gas station and I was sitting there taking an audio message to Kedrick, just telling that we were to try 66 again. But if we're going to do it, we have to do it a different way. Like, just as you said, if this is possible, you really have to change a lot of things. And we did. And Kedrick was also on it, but he was also like, if this is going to be a failure as the Worlds, we would just quit. He would just go in 74. And I said, yeah, we can do that. That's fine by me. And even if you go to 66 and you lift 500 kilo total, that would still be okay. Okay? And I'm like, yeah, sure. I just want to try. Just want to try one more time. So if I went to this meet and did really bad, it wasn't worth it. It's not worth it just to be in the 66, just to lift. Because I've been in this sport for so many years, I want to lift good as well. And 782 is good in the 66, but I want to achieve more than I did in 74. I want to be stronger. I want to have bigger numbers. So I always aim high.
Yeah.
And I think the difference from the last Sheffield, when the hype was on me all the time, every podcast I heard, even if it was from you or from Matt, or every podcast was talking about Kjell is going to win, this is amazing, everything is good. But this time, this was like more rogue thing. I was just working in the shadows, doing my own thing, just thinking that when people find out, they would just get crazy. And I think just in maybe December, I was thinking like, what if people don't care? If I just get there and like, oh, we're 66, people don't care. Like, okay. So people really don't care. But they did. That was a good thing. But I thought that 66 was the obvious choice because I can't do 891. I just did the whole year. I did sub 800. I would probably just do 900, but that wouldn't happen. So 66 for me was clearly obvious choice, but then for me it was just start working with people to not think I will go 66 minutes, taking pictures of pizzas when we had lunch at work.
Actively lying.
Yeah, because people are eating pizza like every Tuesday and Friday. So I have to sit there with them, smelling that wonderful pizza, and like, okay, let's just take a picture of it.
Nice.
People are just, you're enjoying the 74 life. Yeah, really good. That every time I show some kind of crappy food, people loved it. Yeah, 74. Yeah, that's pretty good. So that was pretty easy. Every Q&A I had was about just say, yeah, I'm 74. I'm done with 66. And we thought that even if people thought I was going 74, they would see it when they saw me. That, okay, you don't look like a 74. But when we got there, people didn't say a thing. And I just think that people were just focusing so much on, he said never 66 again. Even when Ramsey, leader of the White Lives Media, who's been taking, 400 pictures of me when we took the Resolve kit when I was 77 or something. I was lying to Megan and Rondell, and I got that the whole week, like, I'm 74. And I ate like crap that week, so that they would...
just to hide it.
Or just because I could.
Strategic refeeds, I like it, to maintain the facade, yeah.
It was so crazy that I was like flexing when I was there, and Rams was like, that biceps is a really good 74 biceps, and I'm like, yeah. And I think that the only one who really saw it, like everyone can say now that every new year we go on CT6. That's easy to say. But Gustav's girlfriend, Sanna, she saw me when I was changing when we were doing the photo shoot. And I'm like, should I just change in the toilet? Because maybe it's too obvious. And she was just looking at me. I'm like, don't look at me like that. She's just looking at me like, I can see that you're shredded. Mm-hmm. But she didn't say anything. And the day before or the day of the lifting, she was talking to my wife, and she's like, how do we need to cut water and gut cut and everything? Like, I saw him, he looked like he was in Auschwitz for 3 years. He was sore shouldered. How could it be 74, or how do you have to cut to 74? She was like, oh, just how it is. So just by getting there, weighing in light as well, 65.5 or something, it's not so good. Like the control now from last time, it was so much better. Like we had more calories, less stress in life. Probably more experienced will help as well. Like I've been cutting for 10 years, but cutting to 74 is much easier than cutting to 66.
Right.
So I think I took your advice. That I took that really to heart. The thing you said about when you're on a diet, do not like be your diet, do not talk about it. Like on the first record, I was like, I'm on NHL and I'm on a diet. So I'm
Right.
this, and this. It was all about the diet. But now it wasn't like that. Now if someone brought the chat, I was like, okay, I can take a little slice. And one was not wondering. I think it's just like with not drinking at a party. If you're not drinking, people are like, I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
If you just have, I don't know, lemonade in your glass or something, people are like, yeah, I'll just eat it alcohol. Yeah, okay, then it's good. So I think we did so many like correct things this time. And the same with training. We saw all our faults on the last time and changed it up. And it was a really good prep. It wasn't a perfect prep, but it was a really good prep.
Yeah, I mean, there's never a perfect prep, right? You know, there's at least not for an athlete like yourself, where you're always looking for ways to improve or things that could have gone better. Like hypothetically, there's a perfect prep, but it would take everything going perfect to the point where you're like, I just can't think of any way to be better, you know? But it's just, you know, it's not realistic. So I totally get what you're saying. I think first I'm honored that I was able to provide some kind of perspective that was helpful, but it's also really understandable where you were the first time. So, just for a little bit of context, you know, I've coached probably 100 people to the stage, and it is the norm that the first time, unless they have some kind of really interesting background, like they used to be a wrestler and they regularly cut a big weight, or they have some type of like photo shoot experience, something like that. When people drop to a very, very lean condition, and I would say you were absolutely in a comparable condition to certain physique athletes in different divisions, etc., there's going to be a really tough rebound, and it's so hard to not let the diet become all-consuming because it's just this heavy focus, and it's a new thing you've never done. The acute weight cut for someone who's dropping even as much as, say, 4%, 5% of body weight, especially if they do a lot of that with water in the last week of the powerlifting meet, or just, you know, manipulating things like gut contents, it means you're really only like actively dieting for maybe a month or two tops. But to drop to that level of condition and leanness to make a weight class, the water cut is honestly it's a painful part, but it's not the bulk of the work. So
it's the easy part.
Exactly, right? Especially for a veteran.
I think 3-4 days before the meet is just super easy. Like,
yeah,
oh, you're not going to eat that much. Yeah, of course, I haven't done that for the last 5-6 months. It's nothing. It's not a big deal. And at the same time, this time I'm at the hotel. I can just watch Rocky and just relax. And like when I was at the Worlds in Germany, I was playing World of Warcraft. I was drinking.
Nice.
Like drinking water and watching the live stream and watching This Has to Be Roland Garros at the same time. That was like the perfect thing that I can do, to just relax and just drink and pee. Drink, pee. That's so much easier than trying to... You have to drink 8 liters of water. You have to be at work. You have to go to like the kindergarten to get the kids.
Yes.
You can't even like wait there for 2 minutes because you're going to pee yourself. Like things like that, that's the problem. Just being at the hotel, being an athlete, that's the easy part.
That's well said. Yeah. I think just to give people context, you know, even when people kind of know what's coming, it is not at all uncommon to have a pretty big weight gain after the diet. So my first time, I did not know it was coming. I dieted down for my first competition in 2007. A long time ago, probably around the time you did your first meet. And in 2 months, I had put on 22 kilos. So I gained 48 pounds in about 2 months after my first season. And it was, you probably could have clinically diagnosed me with binge eating disorder. I didn't have a plan. I didn't know it was coming. And it really eroded my self-efficacy. It took time to recover. And I was totally mentally focused on my bodybuilding prep. And then each subsequent season, it got easier. I was able to push to a leaner condition and then not rebound as high. And, now my off-season weight is lower than it was when I was, in my early career. And my stage weight is higher and I'm leaner on stage. So it truly is something that is a skill and develops over time. And the first time is always the roughest. So I think to give people some background, you said a few things about, how like an 892 total wouldn't be probably not realistic. You talked a little bit about your experience. Just for those who aren't aware, Kjell burst back onto the scene coming into the Raw division is the one real threat to Austin Perkins. So Austin Perkins is essentially the heir to Taylor Atwood, who was the pound-for-pound GOAT. I want to say in another era, but he's still competing. Like powerlifting is moving so fast. But he was just a couple of years ago before he went up to 83. Taylor Atwood, who you have a history with, was the 74-kilo GOAT. He had totaled a peak of, I think, 838.5 at U.S. Nationals. And Austin Perkins came around and started bumping that up into the 840 range. But there was one contender who'd come back, to the Raw side of the sport after a bit of time away. And you were putting up, I want to say your best total was 815. Does that sound right? That I think you did. Yeah. I think you did that at either the Arnold. I think it was at the Arnold. Yeah, so all of a sudden now, at that time, you're within one missed attempt of catching Austin lacking. But Austin would continue to rise, and that 892 is what he put up just a few weeks ago, at the end of January to win the Sheffield title and create the most dominant men's pound-for-pound performance ever. An 891.5, I believe, is the official total that he put up, which is just insane. And if it wasn't for there being probably some baby powder on the bar, we'd probably be looking at a 900 total, which is just absolutely nuts for even one weight class up. And it is putting you in potential podium contention at Worlds in the 93s in recent times. So it is truly a stellar performance. And you were right there in second at 782. And you were recapping essentially your experience of 2025, where you won the 2025 Sheffield totaling 770, shocking everybody with the weight cut, and then you went on to win Euros, World Games, and you even, I think, podiumed you won World Championships and then podiumed at World Games, all in the 74 or kind of the middleweight division at World Games. But your history is not just this recent era. I mentioned you have history with Taylor Atwood. You're one of the few people who can say, hey, I took a world championship title off Taylor. And I was there for that. That was at 2017 Worlds in Belarus. That was Bryce Lewis's first appearance where he took silver. My first time coaching at Worlds in person, which was really cool. And you beat Taylor. And that was when I think you got crowned the GOAT killer. So you have this reputation, which I think is well earned, of being I don't think we should say unlikely at this point. You've done it too many times. But at the time, at least, like the unlikely contender who does things and maximizes his own performance to the best of his capability and catches people who are seen as these untouchable GOATs, like a Taylor Atwood, like an Austin Perkins at the first Sheffield, and just these incredible performances. But even that doesn't speak to your true history in the sport. And you mentioned how you have kids now. You mentioned how you're not sure how many years you have left in the game. So I would love to get a little more history from you. So, Kjell, how old are you? When was your first powerlifting meet? And how long have you been competing in this sport? And across how many different weight classes and divisions, to give people context to your run as a powerlifter?
So I'm 37, turning 38 this year. I've been competing since 2007. So been in the sport for 19 years. Had around, I think I have around 90 meets or something, and most of them are winning meets. So and what was the other question? Is that again?
Yeah, so you've got your first meet was 2007. You're turning 38, and you've competed. Let's see, so you must have started competing as a junior, if I get my math right. Is that right?
Yeah, I was junior. I think it was first year of junior. And I started in the 82.5. That was back then. And I weighed in at 76 or something. I really, to my first beat, I was really trying to cut to 75 because I really wanted to take the national record in bench. And I did that just a week before. I'm like, 1 kilo, I can do that. And I was walking so much. I was sweating. I was trying my all to get down to that weight within at 76. Didn't have a chance. But probably just eating fries or a sausage right before I was starting to lift. But it was another culture back then, right? You were supposed to be bulky. You were supposed to be just as strong as possible. No one was lean. Maybe some Americans, but they could probably eat hot dog and look like Arnold anyway, right? So
sure.
So I had my years in 83, from 2007 until 2016. 2016 was my first official raw meet. I would just wanted to try something new. I wanted to try because I really hated raw. I was really against it. Like I really didn't like. There were some things that I've said like raw lifting is not going to be big, and COVID is not going to be a big thing. So I still have
the internet's not going to take off. These things. Yeah, give it a good shot, but come on.
Yeah. So then I did 74 for, is it 9 years or so now? And then, 66 for the last year. So I'm going downwards. But it's zero. It's no 59.
No 59. Yeah, you probably have to cut off one of those very long arms of yours.
Yeah, probably.
I think that's really good context for people. I think a lot of people are not aware of the monumental shifts in a relatively short time period that have gone on culturally in the sport of powerlifting. I think probably one of the things that contributed to you not being really open to raw is that when you started lifting in 2007, the IPF did not have raw, and it wouldn't until 2012. I think that was the first International Classic Cup, and it wasn't even called the World Championships proper, although it has been historically counted as that. So you had, 5 years in the game before raw was even a real option. But as everyone knows the history, it just opened up the doors to so many more people participating. And there also happened to be a pretty big movement in the raw side outside of the IPF. This is around that time Dan Green, Boss of Bosses, Raw United, these other kind of American-based big movements that brought some attention to it. So as soon as the IPF opened it up, it was like the floodgates. Because I remember competing in California, in the U.S., where you'd think there'd be maybe a few more options and all these other meets. And sometimes I would be competing raw against people who were in equipment, or there was a raw division, but no one would do it. And it wasn't, again, around that same time where that totally changed. And I think people also don't understand that with that huge door opening to a broader population and accessibility became this huge influx in the talent levels. We talked about how you competed at the Arnold and totaled 815. I remember that a big benchmark for how good you were in the current era was what was your Wilks score, which is a coefficient that they don't even use anymore, relative to the Arnold qualification, because this was kind of seen as a pathway where you're not going to Worlds necessarily. And there was a time period where there was a 350 Wilks requirement to qualify for this invitational meet, and that was considered like good and higher. And then it got bumped up to 365, the next year 375, and the next year jumped to 400, and the next year jumped to 435. And I remember this specifically because it was one of my goals that I thought was pretty reasonable. And I thought I was a decent lifter in the early 2000s because my Wilks was just around 400, right around the time it jumped from 375 to 400. And I was like, I can get this. And then the next year it hit 435, and I wouldn't hit a 400 Wilks until a couple of years later. So it exposed me as someone who was only a small fish in a small pond, even at the kind of sub-elite level that I thought I was. But you, my friend, I think, based upon where you started, people would have thought, oh, this guy's just a bench specialist. It's also impressive considering how long your arms were. Like you were talking about, you were a junior, and you were in the 75/82.5 class, and you're looking at close to a 180 bench pretty early in your career, if I recall correctly. And now, you're benching raw, 200, right? So in a weight class lower. So I think the progression is pretty incredible, but I don't know that people would have thought that you would have been as talented as you are now today if they looked at your very early career, because I think your earliest numbers, you were basically like right around like 200, 200, 200, like your squat, bench, deadlift were all pretty similar, which is some of that's from the equipment, but it's also just goes to show you that I want to say, what is your best raw deadlift? It's like 340, I think, at your peak, something like that.
Yeah, it's 340. Yeah.
Yeah, so a massive deadlift, especially for your weight class, but just for anybody. And your squat, which isn't necessarily your strongest lift, but that's come up a tremendous amount as well. You can squat for the Americans 600 pounds. I think you've done 272.5 raw. So starting where you were to where you are now, while I clearly got left behind, you continued to rise with the sport. So you've had one of the longest arcs in improving as an athlete, despite the fact that you've been actually going downward in trajectory with your weight class, which I think is really impressive. And it speaks to smart programming, longevity, a good perspective, and also just an indomitable drive. So to give a little more context, every year that Raw has grown and grown and grown, I remember in 2014, 2015, 2016, it being mind-boggling just how strong people were getting. And, oh man, we're actually getting kind of close to single ply or things like that. Or, the guys in IPF are catching up to some of the guys who are untested. We didn't even know how good things were going to be 10 years later. I think in 2016, there were people winning world titles that would now not be able to podium 2 weight classes higher than they were at that time. So I was wondering, I want to hear from you, like when you think about the early Raw era, what did you conceive of as strong? What were your totals then, and how were they doing for you? And how do you compare that to now? And do you ever look back and go, wow, I can't believe how much stronger I am?
That's kind of hard because I always just look at who my competitors are. So that's the problem with social media and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I can see, when I look at myself, I see like a terrible squatter. But when you see, I can go to every gym and be pretty strong. I'm not the best squatter, but that I can squat like 260, weighing 66. That's pretty good. That's 15 kilos on the dual record from Jonathan Garcia. That is a pretty amazing squatter. So that's fine. But when I think about like what the Perk are doing, I just can't believe it.
Yeah.
But from back in the days, like I had a meet in 2014 regional championship. This was 2 weeks before the Arnolds. I was doing a deadlift only, equipped. I just tried it out. Just wanted to do like a fun meet. I did like 252 or 250, 195 and 317.5. And we called back in deadlift. That was 760 or 770 or something. And this was over the world record back then. And I'm like, wall lifting? Nah. And this was in 83 back then. And I really wish that I tried it before. I really wanted to lift against Brett and everything. I really wonder how my career would be different.
Yeah.
If I did so. But, and then I think the biggest problem about this is you get to 2017 and you have Taylor, he isn't the Taylor that he is now, right? He is still was cocky, he still was Taylor, but he hadn't won anything yet, right? He had won some nationals, and I just crushed him. He was cocky, I wasn't. I crushed him. He left, didn't say anything, came back, and I made a monster out of him. They changed everything, and he came back, and he was amazing. But I think for me, that I will not say I was dominating the equip, but I was one of the best days equipped. Had some had a world record. I was a world champion, and trying to roll out my first international meet, I win by 20 kilos or something on Taylor. I think it was too easy for me.
Yeah.
So it made me slack off, and I didn't take it that seriously. So 2018 comes, and I didn't really train that well, and I got injured, and I really didn't want to go to Worlds because I really didn't train well. And then we have 2019 Worlds, and I also hear in 2018 that Taylor was really pissed off that I wasn't there. 2019 comes, and I know through the whole prep that I'm really not ready to do a good meet, but I'm more like, let's just go and just get beaten and just see what happens. And I just get there, and that when you have your worst day and you see him have the best day, and it really doesn't help that Jason and Ben comes to you afterwards like, we are now meant for lift against them. Like, yes, where is the knife or pistol so I can shoot myself? I'm just so, because it's not really that to lose to Taylor. It's that I did 7:58 in 2007. I come back in 2019 and doing 7:32.5. Yeah. And Taylor does 7:20 or 7:30 at the meet in 2017. Comes in 2019 doing 7:90. And I just see, what the hell have I been doing the last 2 years? And I go away from Raw. I'm like, maybe I'm not just built for doing this. I'm not built for doing like the big Raw totals. And it was really fun to just come back in 2023 and just do that 800 total and beat Taylor's record. That was kind of insane, actually, because I never thought that, or I really wanted to take that record, but I really didn't think that, or maybe I thought like deep inside that it was possible, but I hadn't done it yet. So from the meet I did Worlds in Malta 23. I did 760, and I did 800 like 4 months later. So that was like a super year, and I think that just started to roll. That I got the feeling that maybe I have something to do here.
Yeah. Do you think going back and forth between, single ply and classic helped your longevity in the sport, not just physically? Because I know that a lot of lifters have talked about how it, it distributes the load a little bit differently. If you have pain in a bottom position, it gives you more support, but also psychologically to keep you invested and for such a long time period.
I think it doesn't have anything to do with the pain. I think it's more about, I'm a guy who really likes to win. And I just got beat like harder and harder by Taylor for every year, and don't get any progress because you're so, I don't know, you can't like find the motivation to like keep going, to maybe just lose by 40 kilos instead of 80, just by going back to equipped. And I didn't really do that serious either, but it was enough. I remember we had the World Games qualifier at the Worlds 21 in Norway. And I was really on the fence. Should I quit now or should I continue? If I get a podium spot, I will go to World Games. If I don't do that, I would probably quit. And I end up by bombing out in the squat. But I got one white light, so the jury changed it. And I got back in the meet and won the meet. And did beat Oleg for the second time, who has won
Yeah.
20 world titles, right?
Yeah, he's might be the most decorated male equipped lifter of all time, possibly in IPF.
Probably,
I think. Yeah,
probably.
yeah.
And I think that by doing that, okay, then we can continue at least 2 World Games, and then.
Kjell, I just want to point out to the listener that your career has been marked by these moments of, like you're talking about your drive to win, and I think you do exactly what every athlete really needs to do: is you evaluate and you get so motivated by when you're not at your best. It's not just about where you are relative to other people, which I love. Like, you do want to win, but you also want to be at your best and you want to improve. And I think those two things coexisting is so critical for longevity in the sport at a very high level, and you have them. So just as an example, you didn't win the first time you went to Junior Worlds. You had a couple of rough times, and then you won Junior Worlds. Then you didn't win the first time you went to Open, Equipped Worlds. And I think it wasn't until 2013 that you won like an Open world title.
Open. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So you had to do that. And then, you came over to Raw, you beat Taylor, you became a world champion now across both Equipped and Classic in 2017. And then, like you described, you took some pretty nasty knocks and just couldn't hang. And you were like, well, screw it. Went back to Equipped, started doing well. And then now we're kind of back to this timeline where you make this comeback. You take the world record off of Taylor after beating him for the first time and then getting smoked. So you guys have this generational battle. And now you've actually managed a way to continue to stay relevant in the face of people who are just phenomenal. Like these untouchable giants, by figuring out, all right, listen, I've done the age category worlds thing. I've done the Equipped and the Raw worlds thing. You know what? You know what I haven't done? Taken advantage of the fact that I'm actually a lot shorter than the rest of these guys. And maybe I can cut all the way down to 66, preserve my strength. And you did that with the help of, now Dr. Kedrick Kwan. Big shout out to him for finishing his PhD. It's been an honor to watch him, evolve his career and become the most sought after and successful nutritionist, I think, in powerlifting at the moment. So I just wanted to take a second to point that out, that you have had this, defeat, comeback, probably 4 or 5 times in the chapter of your career. And each time it seems you come back more resilient. So I think it's a really cool story.
Yeah, I also think that, like, this is in 2022, after World Games, going to Worlds and win that. And I think 3-4 weeks later, I'm going to Europeans just to try lifting Classic again or Raw. And I get 5th place. I'm doing 692, I think. Got beaten by Eddie Birdwin. Alexander was beating me. And this was guys I was beating from, like, I've never lost to these guys. And 3 more or something, like, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Is this me? 692? What is happening? And when I'm getting defeats like that, it's not fun, but
right.
It does something with me. Like, now it's just like, now we just need to focus and then come back and do really good. It feels so, and it happens every time. Like you said, like, I get defeated, and I get back. And like, I lost to Burke in Lithuania, 24. Yeah, I didn't come back as a 74, but I did something that still...
You found a way.
Yeah, I found a way. Life finds a way, and I did. And it was...
Oh, the Jurassic Park quote. Just want to give some love right there. I love it. Go ahead.
Yeah, it was. And just going to that and just doing, like, having a nutritionist for the first time, just really eating good for the first time in my... Like, before, when I was cutting to beats, I ate ham and protein milk. That was like the things I was eating.
That was the diet.
That was the diet.
I love it.
So, yeah, it worked, having someone who really knew this.
I've got a question about that specific showdown where you knew if things went really well for you and Austin didn't have his best day or he slipped up, you could have potentially beat him in Lithuania. This is 2024 Worlds. But you really had quite a good meet for yourself. I think, I know you didn't make all the attempts you wanted and things, you didn't feel like you were at your peak, but you knew that you couldn't beat him on raw strength. I think you knew that going into it.
Yeah,
and
for sure. Like,
yeah,
it's when you have someone as Austin, who squats 50 kilo more than you, or that was someone's 100 kilo, and
at the time, yeah.
But it's bench and deadlift is where am I going to take the kilos back? Like there's no way. It's just the facts that there's no. You have to psych him out, or he have to fuck up because of the pressure he's building up on himself. Like Perk is his biggest rivalry because he is putting tremendous pressure on himself.
Yeah.
So that was the plan, and I thought that maybe I was possible to beat him because my training was pretty good until maybe 4 weeks before. And when you saying I had a good meet, and I'm like, did I really? And when you say the numbers, I'm like, it was a pretty good meet.
Yeah, 812. Right?
Yeah,
it
was a good meet. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
but because I didn't win, I just think back at that meet and I was a failure. When I called my wife right after the comp, she was like, now I'm in hiding all the knives in the house.
Wellness check. So note to self: start doing wellness checks. I'll call them chellness checks, just to make sure you're okay next time you don't have a good performance. But let me ask you this: let's say that things had gone just slightly more your way at 2024 Worlds, and you got 9 for 9, and maybe you totaled, let's say, 825, right? But you still lost, and Austin still totaled 836, which it's crazy to think he's almost, 70 kilos, 60 kilos more than that now. How do you think you would have felt? Just trying to evaluate your psychology as an athlete. Things did go well. Maybe it wouldn't be the perfect meet because, like I said, that doesn't exist, but you're like, wow, I was the best version of myself I've been at Worlds against a competitor who's just stronger than me. Do you think you'd need to hide the knives, or would you look and go, hey, you know what? What am I going to do? It's Austin Perkins.
I remember after my wife said I'm hiding knives, I was like, I'm not really that bummed out. It was still just 2.5 kilos under my best. And I didn't win, but I thought that it would be possible for a wild card.
Yeah.
But if I did 825, it would be over the world record, and I would probably get the place to get third spot or something to Sheffield.
Right.
If I did 825, I'd be super happy because I've done better. It's all about that. It's the same now with Sheffield. I'm 66. I have to focus on my 66 numbers. And did 770, then I did 742, and then I went up to 782. So I'm super happy. When people are asking are you satisfied with the meet? They're more thinking that I'm suicidal because I didn't win. And you know what? It went to plan 100%, 100%. We were focusing on second place. We were focusing on the deadlift record, the total record, and getting second place. And we did all of that. We couldn't win. And if we did, that would be a really bad meet for Austin. But we probably would have tried if he didn't get his third squat and third deadlift. Then it would be interesting. So then we probably would have tried. But yeah, I think for me, it's more about just improving.
I thought you'd say that.
Difference. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's that balance that I think I was speaking to earlier. It's understandable. I think people listening go, 812, it's only 2.5 less than your best, and you did it at Worlds. And I go, yeah, but you didn't necessarily go 9 for 9. But it's Sheffield where you place second. And for those who don't know, Sheffield is based upon the percentage over the world record that you're the weight class you're in. So at Sheffield most recently, you were 66, Austin's a 74. So the direct head-to-head comparison isn't there. and you're looking more so at the percentage over the world record. So when we had that 812 versus the 836 comparison at Lithuania, you're missing a few lifts. You weren't at your best. You hadn't improved. I think that's understandable. But when we look at Sheffield, I noticed is you seemed very, very happy with your performance, very satisfied, yet you placed second at Sheffield, which is incredible because it is, again, the best of the best. You didn't beat Austin, and it didn't seem to be something that really stuck with you. And I think also, if you look at your attempts, you made a 2.5 kilo jump on bench and couldn't get it. So you got everything out of yourself on bench you could have. You made a 5 kilo jump on squat and didn't get that. I mean, so really, like, if you could wind back the clock, at most, you're totaling like 784, 785. So you're 782, and you improved. And that's the difference between, I think, Lithuania wasn't just placing second to you. It was also, I didn't do my best on the platform. I didn't improve on my total. And, sure, I couldn't have necessarily beaten Austin straight up, but I didn't even put myself in a position to where I had that opportunity. While at Sheffield, you're like, hey, I had almost a perfect meet and I placed second. I'm satisfied. Is that an accurate representation?
Yeah, I'm really satisfied. And I didn't get to 265, but it was really close. Last time I had a really close call as well, but at that time I got it. So things like that just happens, right? We can't get every lift. And for all I know that I didn't get it, but what if I scored 270 at next Sheffield? That a bigger PR. So
love it.
So I think that every kilo I don't get, because even if I got 265, I bench 200, I still wouldn't get second place or first place. So like the best thing that happened was that I didn't get it. Like I wish that on my first Sheffield that I didn't get the 317.5 deadlift or that's kind of hard because Matt said 760, and if he was right, that means that we were wrong, and
that's right.
I think it was better that we were right.
100%. No, yeah, you preserved our legacy, so your wins are my wins because I'm predicting them. So therefore I totaled, seven.
You did.
I'm very strong. Thank you. And man, what a weight cut for me, all the way down from 90 kilos. That's tough. So, yeah. No, but in all seriousness, I think that's great perspective. I know some of the listeners are very interested in the actual tactics, the approach, and what changed for you. I think people just don't even really recognize how impressive a 770 total was at 66. You put, like, worlds and podium spots are based upon whether you're right around 700 at the time. We had, a rough day I totaled, 690, and then people are tying on body weight to win around 700, right around this era. So 770 was like a 10% increase on what is like a world champion total. Everyone's like bonkers, mind blown. And now, but then, man, you had that rebound. You had that crash that we talked about to start the podcast. You explained what it was like, where you were mentally. And now you're at 782. You came back to a weight class that you thought you were done with. And it seemed to be a mental shift. And I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm turning 43 this year. I just had my best appearance at Worlds. This is WMBF Worlds. I'm not nearly strong enough to go to Worlds except for coaching in the IPF, but I can look strong, or at least look reasonably muscular. And, I have that same drive. And I remember watching, it wasn't the most recent Rocky movies, but it was the one where he comes back because of he sees a prediction. Yeah, he sees the prediction of like the virtual fight, and he's like, you know what, I'm not done. And he comes back in his 40s.
My favorite.
Yeah, exactly. You and I are like, I get it, because yes, 100%.
Yeah.
How much time do I have left, right? Yeah. And do I feel satisfied? Can I close the book and go, yep, that is a satisfying career, at least competitively. I'm not going to stop lifting. Yes, exactly. I have something left, and then when he finishes the fight, he's like, I'm satisfied or something. He's
yeah.
Yes, I worked it out. So I don't think either one of us are done, and we want to keep pushing, but we're also acutely aware that we don't really get to choose when we hit our last PR or when we reach the peak of our physique. We don't know. So the decision to go, pardon my French, fuck it, I'm going 66 because how many more meets do I have left in me? The decision for me to go, you know what, I'm going to compete and just put everything into bodybuilding because, you know what, you got a long arc in bodybuilding, possibly longer than powerlifting because I don't have to squat, bench, and deadlift heavy. But there's a lot of guys coming up, and I don't know how much more blood can I squeeze from the stone. So I understand 100%. And I think that is what opens the door. But I think people want to know, what did you do once you walked through and you committed? What were the changes that you've made to your mentality, but also just the day-to-day nutrition training that enabled you to improve upon that 770 total? And what wisdom do you have for other people who might be in a position where they could be trying to cut down to, you know, a pretty borderline sustainable weight class for their, you know, size?
You mean 770 now or 782? The reason.
Right. Yeah. So what for 782 versus 770, what changed? What enabled this to be possible to do it again and not just say, you know, screw it? As far as tactics, because I think psychologically I understand why you took another shot, but it worked. So what did you do that worked and enabled you to improve?
I think that just by experienced it, that it was possible. I think this time I didn't really think that much of the weight because before I just ate really little because I wanted to weigh as less as possible. But now I use nutrition to try to perform as good as possible. That was a big change. Like when I had my big STD days every second Friday, I ate really good because I wanted to perform as good as possible on the day. That made a big deal. All the external stress all around me, I tried to like get it down. Probably some with the pressure that people didn't know probably helped a little. That I really like the pressure, but for the nutrition, it really doesn't help that much. When everyone's expecting like you're going to weigh, people are saying it's impossible or it's going to be pretty hard. And I think if I was alone, didn't have kids, didn't have wife, and just do my own thing, it would probably be so much easier. And we took the calories up. That we got it up to a place that I didn't crave that much. I think that it would be better to have a baseline that is higher through the whole prep instead of just being really low and just go on mistakes by eating some shit, right? And I think that...
Kjell, can I ask you about that really quick?
Yeah.
So I think sometimes, you know, and sometimes I like Ryan really likes to focus on like the step counts, the macros, the numbers, and he kind of compares those. But what I think a lot of athletes and coaches realize is that it's not necessarily about what's prescribed, but it's about what you can adhere to. And I think there's this assumption with high-level athletes that we're superhuman, that we never make mistakes, that we don't have adherence issues. And I can tell you, even coaching crazy bodybuilders, it's probably the minority that never go off plan, you know, have a slip up, report in and go, hey, coach, sorry, but I just had a blowout, you know. And I think sometimes coaches, they will take a really kind of top-down approach and athletes feel guilty about it. Like, oh, it's almost like skipping my training. I don't want to admit it. And they feel like they can't tell their coach, and maybe their coach doesn't make it easy for them to do so, hey, I slipped up. And instead, they just go, yeah, hitting the numbers, but weight isn't going. And something that I coach kind of other coaches to do is to really make it a comfortable, safe environment for the athlete to talk about adherence and not you're a liar, you're a bad person, or punish you. Because there's this, for those who are listening on the podcast feed, I'm holding up an X like I'm a DMX fan, but it's an inverse relationship between the size of the intended deficit or how low your calories get and adherence. Meaning that your adherence, actually it's not an inverse relationship. It is a linear relationship. The higher, the lower the calories, the lower the adherence. Or another way to say it is the higher the deficit, the lower the adherence. And I think also the pressure and all those things that add to an athlete can contribute to that. So what you want to find is something that is truly quite sustainable, because then you reduce the number of instances where that athlete is just struggling to adhere. And also you have to have a really, really good rapport and communication with them so they feel like they can come to you and say, yeah, 4 days a week I can hit 1,600 calories, but on that fifth day, all it takes is me being out of chicken breast and the wife saying, hey, do you want to get pizza? And I go, you know what? Sure. And then I look up the next day, there you go, right? And you look up and you go, God damn it. And then what does the coach do? Well, the athlete has a choice. Either lie about it and act like I'm stalling. Oh, say I skip my weigh-in next morning. And the coach goes, what do I need to do? Well, I got to cook calories further. And the problem continues. Ideally, what you want to be able to say is, hey, coach, here's what happened. And the coach goes, okay, well, you know what? I want you to go into those instances with more resilience. So maybe we don't crush you with 4 days of 1,600. If, you're always getting off work late on this day and, you come home and your wife doesn't want to deal with cooking because she had a rough day, that's going to be your refeed day. We're going to give you a buffer up to 2,800 calories. And also, the next morning, we'll have your big SBD day. And that's the kind of, tactics that enable. There you go. Mate, I've done it before. I've unfortunately been the coach who has set up athletes to fail. So I think these are things that when you really just focus on the numbers, you'd be like, oh man, you were doing weighted vest walks, 1,600 calories, and this time you were eating 2,000 plus calories. You weren't doing the weighted vest walks. How did you do that? Did your metabolism shift? And it's like, probably not the metabolism. It was probably, and let me know, it was more related to how well you could follow the diet, how sustainable it felt, and the stress that it put on you while following it. Is that accurate?
Yeah, for sure. Like, we still had the weighted vest. We still, but we went from, because the thing you just said, like that when I just hear it, I'm like, stop being in my brain. Like, I ate too much because I couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
I lied to Kedrick and wrote a wrong weight on the scale. Like, this was for the first Sheffield, right? I said everything was okay, but I had 20,000 steps weighted vest, right? 18 kilos out at night. Like, my recovery was worse because I was going out the whole night. And I think that I felt like embarrassed.
Of course.
Doing so, because every time I just think about powerlifting, I just think about like who is really like into it. It's like Emil Kratzev. He's like, probably if you see his food log, it's like it was never a calorie over. It's like it's super extreme every day, right? You never fuck up. And I think
ex-bodybuilder, by the way.
Yeah, that really helps me.
Yep.
But I think that was the problem all along, that I was, every time that I made a mistake, I ate too much. I didn't tell him about it. I tried to fix it myself to get down. Maybe it could be like 2 weeks without having the right scale. And I was eating much less. And I was walking much more. And I was stressed about it all the time. Then I got down to weight. And then I was just off. I was just really tired. And my hip was really hurting because I was walking so much. So, but this time we had like 400 more calories through the whole prep. And that's a lot when you're not eating that much. And what you're doing with them, like the first Sheffield we had like a Norwegian, like some kind of a protein chocolate milk, 62 grams protein for a liter is pretty good, but it's also 450 calories. And if I drink 180 of my calories, I should use them more efficiently. So I changed all of those things, that not drinking any calories, trying to eat better for performance, and I wasn't. Of course, I was hungry at the end of the end of the prep. I think the biggest wake up call was that I've never tried dark chocolate in my whole life. That's like, I'm not eating that. Like, get out of the way.
Dangerous.
And but I ate it at the day before Sheffield at the gut cut, and like, this tastes really well. Why haven't I tried this before? And I tried it 2 days ago, and like, I'm never going to eat this again. It doesn't taste good at all. Like, what did I think?
The hungry man palate. Everything tastes good. Yeah.
But I can see it from on my TikTok or Instagram that everything is food. I watch their food, people eating donuts all the time. That's my thing. Like I'm just watching it. I'm just really looking forward to eating that. But when the meat is done, it's like I can have a pizza, but I don't have to eat 10 pizzas. So
What a shift in mentality.
yeah, for sure. And that felt really good to just. I know that when Sheffield was done, I wasn't going to weigh 68 because that would be just done.
Mm.
But stay around 72 would be
Perfect.
so much easier when you don't have to like feel like crap or feel that now I have to take back all the calories I didn't eat.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a really big change on everything to this meet. I think we did 95% right this time. And next time we're going to do 100.
Yeah, proof is in the pudding. Yeah, I think, and there's still opportunities for improvement, like maybe not making food porn your Instagram reel to produce the to reduce the cravings. But no, you it sounds like you chose foods that had more satiating ability. So higher food volume with lower calories, no liquid calories. You're using targeted refeeds around your training. You're not advertising the fact and making it everything that you are dieting. You're not in the dieting 12-step program. Hi, my name is Kjell. I'm on a diet.
Yeah.
That's a huge part of it.
Yeah, that helped. And also that every time when I had a refeed day, let's say Christmas or New Year's Eve, then the problem last time was if I had a refeed day, it was 4 refeed days.
Yeah, it turned into it blew out. Yeah.
Yeah, but this time it's like one day was not crazy, but yeah, more calories than I should. And the next day, I was right back at it again. So yeah, we figured it out.
Yeah, one of the mantras that I think is very helpful that you kind of learn just from the first time of doing it is I tell myself the food's always going to be there. I'm choosing to restrict my calories. I am not someone who is in the ice age and I fell upon this magic feast and it's going to be gone tomorrow, so I better eat it all, right? It's like, I'm stopping voluntarily at 2,100 calories, and tomorrow I could eat 10,000 if I wanted, but it's not gone. Like the kind of letting yourself know in the moment that this is, it's a choice. You're safe, you're good, because it is really like an existential threat to who we are as human beings, right? So, yeah, massive mindset shift, targeted nutrition changes. It sounds like you improved on the communication and honesty with your coach, which I just want you to know how normal that is. When you're a high-performing athlete, you have a high degree of self-efficacy. It's a hard thing to do to tell your coach, I didn't follow the plan. I messed up. And you did exactly what many athletes would do. I'm going to fix this on my own. You don't need to worry about this. This is on me. I'll get us back on track. Don't worry about it. I'll just do extra cardio. And then those things compounding, right? So I think those what people would consider not the hard skills or the quantitative aspects of what changed are sometimes by far the most important things, like improved communication, integrating the diet with your life, and making sure that it is agile and, not taking a mentality that puts so much pressure on you to where you've got to fix your oopsies, and that the oopsies are data points to improve upon and learn from rather than, chinks in your armor that you want to hide. So just a big kudos to you, man. I really appreciate you going through that. I think people will be able to look at this and go, wow, this man has been next year 20 years in the game, which is going to be something I hope you celebrate. With a World Games championship, multiple equipped and raw championship titles, a Sheffield title, and I guess we're potentially going to be looking at another raw win in a different weight class for you at Worlds, which would be a pretty fun. That's the next first thing for you, right? Because you have not yet won a world title at 66.
I did last year.
Oh, that's right. Of course you did. Yeah. What am I talking about? Yeah.
But we can say World Games.
World Games. Yes.
I haven't done that.
That you haven't done.
For years. So
yeah.
I still have some.
You got to make it till there. So yeah, I guess that's the question I had for you, and I didn't tee it up well because I immediately controverted your record that I got right previously. What is next for you? What do you have your eyes set on?
Yeah, for this year it will only be Worlds in Dubai in June, and then Sheffield in November. Hopefully,
That's right.
hopefully, yeah. It will be a good fight against Joe Jordan.
Yes.
Really nice, and don't know who will come from the US, but looking forward to it. I think that when PA Nationals is done, I will be really motivated for just looking at the lifting. I think that I need that meet for just like start really good again. I think that the wrongs that I've done too many times is that I'm start too quick again after meet.
Right.
But my body really can't do it. It takes another week for me to just get back to it. I try every time, but it just makes things worse. Now that I was just watching TV, had my my foot on the table, like crossed over, and after doing that for 15 minutes, I couldn't like flex or stretch my leg, so I haven't been able to walk on that leg for a week now. That's the
Fun.
started. And then I just see Perk talking about like he can do 900 the day after he did 891. It feels perfect, and like, okay, people are built different.
You're a little older than him too.
Still. Yeah, it's awful. But I'm just happy, as you said, like a real time, that you never know when your last meet is. People can say, why did you do 6% over the world record on the first Sheffield? Like you should have come this year and maybe win because you didn't do that many percentages. But I don't know that. I don't know if I'm going to get back. And I don't know, like on every Sheffield, I will try as much as possible every time, because I never know, like for every meet that I do, for every PR that I can do, I'm just really happy. I'm just really satisfied. And I think that satisfied, it's something that people should learn to praise for it, because why do it when you hate it or you don't like yourself? But I felt so bad for Perk after the meet that he was crying because he felt so useless or felt not strong, and everyone else is just like, this is so insane that I can't believe it. When he's doing 891, it's the same thing that I just go to a normal gym and deadlift 200 kilos. He can't understand it. It's just so, it's another planet. It's Superman stuff.
Yeah.
It's insane.
You're right, though. These are such good words from someone who's been in the game a long time. You have to stay motivated to improve, but still be able to appreciate what you've accomplished. And that duality is really hard, but it is the only thing that allows someone to have the longevity in the sport that you've had. So I just want to say a massive thank you for giving up, your Thursday night, and your patience as I was running around trying to get a webcam that I didn't even get to use, and for sharing your wisdom and experience. And I'm wishing you the best at Worlds. I can't wait to see it. And yeah, I just want to say a big thank you to everyone for listening in to this interview with World Games, Equipped, as well as Raw, Junior, as well as Open, and probably, I'll predict it right now, future Masters World Champion once he ticks over the, yeah, I know you will, European Champion, everything, buddy. So you
know what?
Yes.
Just I also have a plan to be a international judge. So that when I'm not good enough for the Open team anymore, I can still get sent anyway.
Perfect.
That's it.
Yeah. And you can start red lighting anyone who's getting near your records, right? And that's the real one. Overturns, yeah. People are like sitting on their ankles and you're like, wasn't deep enough, bro. I'm sorry. I don't know what you're thinking. Yeah, I did. Sorry, buddy. We got to get that jury involved. So no, I think that's awesome. So yeah, I can't wait to see what the future holds, and that you are peaking in a stage of a career where a lot of people are thinking that they are no longer at their peak. You are there and you're doing amazing things. So thank you for your time. A huge thank you to everyone for listening, and we will catch you next episode on our next likely live episode of Iron Culture.